Imagine standing in the heart of a raging storm. The wind howls mercilessly. The rain pelts down like needles, and the world around you seems to be in utter chaos. Yet, in the very eye of this tempest, you are perfectly still, serene, and untouched. This is not a fantasy or a poetic exaggeration. It is the essence of inner peace, a profound state where external disturbances have no power over your calm and clarity. Now, think of the last time someone's words or actions provoked you. Perhaps it was an insult, a betrayal, or a moment of sheer frustration. Anger bubbled up, consuming your thoughts and hijacking your actions. Anger, though a natural emotion, often leaves behind a trail of destruction within ourselves and in our relationships. But what if you could face the provocations of life with the same stillness as standing in the eye of the storm? What if anger no longer had the power to shake your peace? In Zen and Buddhist philosophy, this mastery of anger is not an unattainable ideal for monks on mountaintops. It's a practice that anyone can cultivate. Today, we'll embark on a transformative journey through timeless stories, practical insights, and actionable techniques. We'll explore how you can overcome anger, remain unbothered by others, and find a peace that is unshakable. Let us begin. In a tranquil Zen monastery, nestled amidst serene mountains and whispering bamboo groves, a young disciple wrestled with a fire he could not extinguish. His days were filled with diligent study and meditation, yet he found himself unable to calm the storm within. The slightest insult or provocation from others ignited an anger that burned fiercely, consuming his thoughts and clouding his judgment. One day, overwhelmed by frustration, the disciple approached his master, whose reputation for unshakable calm and profound wisdom was known far and wide. Bowing deeply, he confessed his struggle. "Master," he began, his voice tinged with desperation, "I try to follow the teachings, to meditate and cultivate peace. But when others provoke me, I feel a fire rise within. I cannot help it. Their words, their actions, they overwhelm me. How can I stop this fire from consuming me? How can I find peace when my anger is so strong?" The master, seated cross-legged under an ancient tree, listened intently. His face remained serene, his eyes steady, exuding a calm that seemed almost otherworldly. After a moment of silence, the master smiled gently, as if amused by the simplicity of the disciple's turmoil. "Let me show you," he said, his voice like a soft breeze carrying the promise of clarity. And with that, the disciple's journey toward mastering his emotions and understanding the true nature of anger began. Story 1. The Bitter Tea. The master sat quietly, a simple wooden teapot in his hands. The aroma of freshly brewed tea filled the room as he poured the steaming liquid into a small ceramic cup, offering it to the disciple. The young man took a hesitant sip, his face immediately contorting with discomfort. "Why did you stop drinking?" the master asked, observing the disciple's reaction. "It's too bitter," the disciple replied, setting the cup down. The master nodded knowingly, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Anger," he began, "is like this tea. It is bitter, yet many choose to drink it over and over, hoping that its taste will somehow harm the one who brewed it. But in truth, it only poisons the one who consumes it." The disciple stared at the cup, its simplicity now carrying a weight of meaning. "So, by holding on to anger, I am only harming myself?" he asked, realization dawning in his voice. The master nodded. "Exactly. Anger clouds your judgment and fills your heart with bitterness. Recognizing its futility is the first step to releasing its grip. Why choose bitterness when you can let it go?" The disciple left the room with a deeper understanding that awareness of anger's true nature is the key to letting it go, freeing the mind and heart from unnecessary suffering. Story 2. The Heavy Stone. The master stood silently in the courtyard, holding a large, rough stone in his hands. He placed it into the disciple's palms, its weight noticeable but not unbearable. "Carry this stone wherever you go," he instructed, his tone calm yet firm. "And each time you feel anger rising, hold it tighter." The disciple, though confused, obeyed without question. At first, The task seemed simple. The stone was heavy, but manageable, and the act of gripping it tightly felt oddly satisfying, as if he could transfer his anger into its weight. But as the hours turned to days, the burden grew unbearable. The stone seemed heavier with every step, its edges digging into his hands. Each time someone provoked him, he tightened his grip, as instructed, until his arms ached and his spirit sagged under the strain. Finally, exhausted and frustrated, he returned to the master. "This stone grows heavier with every step," he said, his voice weary. "I cannot carry it anymore." The master looked at him, his gaze steady and compassionate. "Anger is no different," he said. "The longer you cling to it, the heavier it becomes. Let it go, and you will feel light." The disciple hesitated, then released the stone. Instantly, a sense of relief washed over him. He realized that holding on to anger served no purpose but to weigh him down. Letting go, he discovered, was not a sign of weakness but an act of freedom and self-liberation. Story 3. The distorted reflection. The master took the disciple to a quiet pond nestled within the monastery gardens. The water was so still that it mirrored the sky above, capturing the gentle sway of nearby bamboo. "Look into the water," the master instructed, gesturing toward the tranquil surface. The disciple leaned forward and gazed at his reflection. "I see myself," he said, marveling at the clarity of the image. The master then picked up a stick and gently stirred the water. Ripples spread across the surface, distorting the reflection into a fragmented, wavering image. "And now, what do you see?" the master asked. "Only distortions," replied the disciple, his brows furrowing as the reflection dissolved into chaos. The master nodded, placing the stick aside and allowing the pond to settle. "When your mind is calm, like this still water, you perceive reality clearly," he explained. "But when anger stirs your mind, it distorts your perception. You no longer see things as they are, but through a lens clouded by emotion." The disciple watched as the ripples faded, and the water returned to its pristine stillness. He realized that just as the pond required stillness to reflect accurately, his mind needed calm to understand the world clearly. From that day forward, the disciple began practicing mindfulness and meditation, cultivating a calmness that allowed him to see situations with clarity and respond with wisdom instead of anger. Practical techniques for overcoming anger. To master anger, Zen philosophy provides a collection of practical tools that can be applied in daily life. These techniques, simple yet profound, help us cultivate inner peace and break free from anger's destructive grip. 1. Mindful breathing. The first and most accessible technique is mindful breathing. When anger begins to rise, pause and focus on your breath. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a moment, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this process until you feel a shift in your state of mind. By redirecting your attention to the rhythm of your breath, you create a gap between the triggering event and your emotional reaction, allowing clarity and calm to replace impulsivity. 2. Non-reaction. The art of non-reaction is a cornerstone of Zen practice. Like the master who remained unmoved by insults, choosing not to respond to provocation denies it the power to affect you. Negativity is like a gift. If you refuse to accept it, it remains with the giver. This practice requires patience and self-awareness, but can transform interactions, preserving your peace and defusing conflict. 3. Compassion practice. When anger arises from someone's actions, shift your perspective and view their behavior as a symptom of their own struggles. For instance, a person's rudeness might stem from their inner pain or frustration. Responding with empathy instead of retaliation not only prevents anger from taking hold, but also fosters understanding and connection. Compassion transforms what could be a negative encounter into an opportunity for growth. 4. Meditation on impermanence. Zen teaches that emotions are fleeting, like clouds passing across the sky. Anger, too, is transient. It comes and goes if we allow it to. Through meditation, observe your emotions without attaching to them. This detachment helps you recognize that anger is not a permanent state, but a passing experience that loses its power when left unchecked. 5. Visualization. Visualization is a powerful mental tool. Imagine your anger as a burning coal in your hand. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. Visualize yourself letting the coal drop and feel the immediate relief that comes with releasing the heat and pain. This simple mental exercise reinforces the futility of clinging to anger. By incorporating these techniques into your daily life, you can begin to transform your relationship with anger, fostering a mindset of calm, clarity, and resilience. Story 4. The Empty Boat. The master sat with his disciple under the shade of a towering tree, the soft rustle of leaves punctuating the silence. He began to tell a story, his voice calm yet vivid in its imagery. Imagine you are rowing a small boat across a tranquil lake, the master said. The water is smooth, and the journey is peaceful. Suddenly, another boat collides with yours. If you look up and see that the boat is empty, what do you feel? Nothing, Master, the disciple replied. It's just an accident. No one to blame. The master nodded. But now imagine that someone is in the other boat, perhaps not paying attention or carelessly steering. What do you feel then? The disciple frowned. I might feel angry. I would want to know why they were so careless. The master smiled knowingly. In truth, the collision happened either way, whether the boat was empty or occupied. Your anger arises not from the event, but from your interpretation of it. You choose to assign blame, and in doing so, you create your own suffering. The disciple reflected on this, realizing how often he allowed assumptions and judgments to stir anger within him. The master's story revealed the power of neutrality, seeing events as they are, without projecting unnecessary meaning onto them. Frees the mind from emotional turbulence. Story 5. The Resilient Bamboo. The master led the disciple through the peaceful monastery grounds to a grove of tall, swaying bamboo. The air was still at first, but soon a gust of wind swept through, causing the bamboo to bend and sway gracefully. Watch the bamboo, the master said, his voice calm yet deliberate. See how it bends with the wind but does not break, no matter how strong the gusts. The disciple observed closely, marveling at the bamboo's ability to yield without snapping. The wind came and went, yet the bamboo always returned to its upright position, unharmed. The strength of bamboo lies in its flexibility, the master continued. It does not resist the wind, nor does it try to fight against forces beyond its control. Instead, it adapts, swaying gracefully until the storm passes. You must be like the bamboo. When life's winds, be it challenges, provocations, or hardships, come your way, do not resist them. Instead, adapt, move with them, and remain rooted in your core strength. The disciple nodded, understanding the wisdom in the bamboo's graceful resilience. He realized that by resisting life's challenges, he created his own suffering. But by embracing flexibility, he could navigate life with strength and composure. From that moment, he resolved to face difficulties not with resistance, but with adaptability and inner balance, like the bamboo that danced with the wind yet stood unbroken. Story 6. The Silent Observer. The master stood with the disciple in the meditation hall, where the silence was so profound that even the faintest rustle of leaves outside could be heard. When you feel anger rising, the master began, his voice steady and calm. Do not react immediately. Instead, become the silent observer of your mind. Do not fight the anger, nor should you feed it. Simply watch it as you would watch a cloud drifting across the sky. The disciple listened intently and decided to put this teaching into practice. The next time he felt anger bubbling up during a disagreement, he paused. Instead of reacting with harsh words or dwelling on his frustration, he took a deep breath and silently observed the sensation within him. He noticed his rapid heartbeat, the tension in his body, and the heat in his face. But he did not judge these feelings. He simply acknowledged their presence. To his surprise, as he observed the anger without feeding it further, it began to dissipate, much like a cloud breaking apart under the sun. What once felt overwhelming quickly lost its grip on him. The master's words echoed in his mind. Anger is a spark. It only becomes a fire if you add fuel to it. By observing it without judgment, you allow the spark to fade before it can ignite. The disciple realized the power of non-reaction. Each time he practiced this silent observation, he felt more in control of his emotions and less burdened by anger's weight. Over time, he discovered that peace was not achieved by suppressing anger, but by allowing it to pass, untouched by reaction. My journey with anger. In my own life, there was a time when anger seemed to follow me closely, especially in moments of criticism. I recall one particular day when a harsh comment from a colleague cut deeply. The words were unfair and unprovoked, and my initial reaction was to fire back with equal force, to defend myself and my integrity. The anger surged within me like a cheetah, but just as I was about to respond, something stopped me. I remembered the Zen teachings I had read about, the importance of silence, the power of non-reaction. Taking a deep breath, I let the moment stretch without saying a word. My silence felt unnatural at first, as though I was suppressing something essential. Yet, instead of reacting, I decided to observe. What was this anger? Where was it coming from? Why was I giving it so much power? As the hours passed, I began to reflect on the situation more clearly. I realized that the critic's words were not a reflection of my character, but of their own struggles. Perhaps they were projecting their frustrations onto me, or perhaps they had acted out of ignorance or misunderstanding. Whatever the case, their words lost their sting as soon as I stopped giving them meaning. By letting go of the need to retaliate, I felt an incredible sense of lightness. The anger that had threatened to consume me dissipated like a passing storm. Over time, I even began to feel gratitude, not for the criticism itself, but for the lesson it provided. That moment taught me that my peace was mine to protect, and that no one's words could disturb it unless I allowed them to. This personal experience became a turning point. It showed me the transformative power of Zen teachings in everyday life. Anger no longer felt like an inevitable reaction but a choice, one I could consciously avoid, leaving room for understanding, compassion, and peace. Conclusion: becoming the peaceful warrior. The disciple, having walked the path of self-discovery, had transformed into a peaceful warrior of the mind. His once fiery reactions to provocations had been replaced by a calm resilience, and he no longer viewed anger as an enemy to battle, but as a teacher to learn from. When asked about his newfound serenity, he would simply say, "By letting go of resistance, embracing compassion, and practicing stillness, I found peace no one could take away." Mastering anger is not about denying or suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them. Anger, like any other feeling, is a messenger, a reflection of our inner state. When we resist or suppress it, we only amplify its power. But by observing it, understanding its roots, and choosing how to respond, we reclaim control. The journey toward this mastery is one of patience, practice, and transformation. It requires us to face our emotions with honesty, to bend like bamboo when life's winds blow, and to flow around obstacles like a river finding its way. It is not always easy, but the rewards, a mind at peace and a heart unburdened, are immeasurable. To become a peaceful warrior is to carry an unshakable calm within, navigating life with grace, clarity, and compassion. This is a strength that no storm can uproot and no provocation can disturb. Thank you for joining me on this transformative journey. If these teachings have inspired or helped you, please take a moment to like this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. How do you approach anger in your own life? What topics would you like to explore next? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future content on cultivating peace, resilience, and mindfulness. Together, we can build a community rooted in wisdom and understanding. May you carry the calm of these lessons into your daily life. See you in the next video.